Hi everyone, this is producer Adam here. This episode is going to sound a little bit different because I used my field recorder. We had the pleasure of interviewing Richard Dumont, who plays Sardo on the show. We did this interview back in December and just released it now. We're trying to get some more content out there, and I hope everyone's staying healthy with the global epidemic of COVID-19. Enjoy the show. Welcome to a very special episode of We're Not Afraid of the Dark. Hey, this is our first big interview. Please welcome the one, the only, Richard Dumont, who plays Sardo. And Richard, I'm not going to ask you to do that accent thing because I'm sure everybody asked you that as soon as they talk to you.
Oh, well, it's Sardo. No, mister. Accent on the dough.
I love it.
How often do you get asked to do that?
How are you doing, Adam? How are you? And hello to you, sir.
Let's start from the actual beginning. How'd you end up on the show?
Well, the crazy thing is that I am currently living in Montreal. I'm from Toronto, but I'm living in Montreal, and I had gone to an audition actually in Montreal for the company. It was Nickelodeon, and some other producers were there, and DJ McHale was there, and the director who directed me in that in subsequently the first episode, and I think 3 others subsequent to that, and he's also directed me in a Dennis the Menace movie since there. But Mr. Ron Oliver, fantastic director. I'm proud to call him a friend. He was there in the room, and basically at that time I'd had my hair was longer, and I had it tied in a sort of a rubber band ponytail that I tucked under so they wouldn't see it. Somebody did notice it and said, "Hey, listen, man, why don't you just take the hair down?" And so I did, and that sort of opened it up. And they said they wanted a quasi accent, kind of not too British, maybe kind of Connecticut-y, kind of mid-Atlantic, and so that's the accent that I sort of did, and they, for whatever reason, seemed to enjoy it, and I was just so blessed to be able to get that role of Sardo. And that's basically it. That was basically it, but that was certainly DJ picking me and Ron picking me, and I guess Nickelodeon as well.
Because I remember before that you had done some acting and some voiceover work.
Yes, I was doing voiceovers, but I was also with Second City out of Toronto. The people that spawned, Martin Short and Catherine O'Hara, Eugene Levy, all that. It was Second City in Toronto. And I'd come to Montreal with a show, an improv show, fell in love with the city, and that's why I wound up staying here, and the rest of the troupe went back to Toronto.
Because your first appearance was in this episode called The Tale of the Super Specs, and I think that was like 93, 94.
The Super Specs, yeah, that was the first. Gosh, you know what? I'm sure you're right. I thought it was even earlier than that. But there you go.
Actually, maybe it may have been 92.
Yeah, that's the one that Ron had directed. I'm not 100% sure, but I think DJ may have written that one.
Yeah, because there's been some there's arguments within the community right now just about the creation of this character Sardo, about basically what characters and continuity. Because this was special to me. I wanted to ask you about this because you had this interview in this book a few years ago. It's called Slimed: An Oral History of the Golden Age of Nickelodeon. And in that interview, you stated that there's a line at the end of the episode where you say, "Take the children." And that was apparently improv.
That's right.
Yeah. My question is, did they allow you to do a lot of improv on the show?
Well, I was really lucky again because of Ron and DJ McHale's their attitude, which was a great attitude. And they said, yeah, if it works, it works. You can think of a few things, and they allowed that bit of freedom. I mean, the scripts were good and they were solid, and it didn't need much, that's for sure. But they did allow me a little bit of freedom. So yes, Take the Children was one of mine. Have You Tried Our Vomit was another one, because
Yep.
I think Ron had given me some plastic vomit or something that he wanted to have on Sardo's at the magic shop on the countertop, and that was just one of the things. And I was lucky that they kept it in. That's it. But overall, the writing was very solid and didn't need much help from me. That's for sure.
Hey, Richard. This is Ben, Adam's brother. So, my wife has a question. Since we're talking about props, did you procure any in your time?
Did I get any props? Was that the question?
Yes.
Sorry?
Or the wardrobe.
No, I'm sorry. Forgive me, guys, because you are just breaking up a little bit. We may have a bit of a bad line. But no, in hindsight, which is always 2020, I perhaps should have grabbed something, but no, I did not. I didn't. And you have to remember, too, that, oh, by the way, there's my Canadian A. You have to remember that I never dreamt that Sardo would be back for a second episode, much less a sixth and a seventh, I believe. I never dreamed for a second, so that was it. I was lucky and blessed to get the role, and I was going to move on from there. And then people seemed to like the character, and I was lucky enough to have DJ say, "Yeah, let's bring him back," and he did.
Yeah, we've always wondered what happened to some of these props, whether they ended up as firewood or there's some storage unit in Canada right now.
Very possible. That or DJ's garage. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm actually waiting for him to reach out to me to get him on this podcast.
That's not gonna happen.
Yeah,
they're in DJ's palatial mansion, somewhere in Newport Beach or wherever it is. I think it's Newport.
Yeah, we live in Maryland, so I think it's like an 8 or 9 hour drive to up there in that part of Canada. So I was willing to pack better the car. We take him out to a bar somewhere. If you're around, we'll take you out as well.
There you go.
Speaking of at that time, around the first episode, were you getting recognized on the street as this character?
It's funny. It certainly wasn't the first episode, but by about the third or fourth, yeah, seriously, I really, really did. It was quite, and mostly, with younger people, let's say under the age of, let's say, 17. But absolutely.
Yeah, because
I remember going to an Oktoberfest parade that, believe it or not, I think John Candy, I think he was the master of ceremonies of this parade. And getting stopped by kids, it was unbelievable. But yeah, at that time, yes, it was quite something. That's that's the power of Nickelodeon and of having a series that was good and loved by the viewers.
Yeah, because I know there was a delay in the airing of the show, especially in the early seasons. It was airing in Canada, I think, about 9 months prior to the USA. And then by the time we reached like season 3 or season 4, it was all like a 6-month delay or even earlier.
That could well be. I'm not aware of that, but that could well be. I mean, what I am aware of is the fact that Are You Afraid of the Dark actually, as I'm sure you know, went off the air. I couldn't even tell you what season that was.
But season 5.
Went off the air, and then the viewership just wanted it back, and it came back after I think it was on for 2 seasons. I want to say. I could be wrong on that, but I can't think of another series, and there probably is one. I just can't think of one off the top of my head that was off for 2 seasons and then brought back on.
Yeah, now it's back again after nearly 20 years. So,
exactly. I mean, I keep hearing rumors up here about them wanting to do some sort of a film or something. I know there was rumors back when we were doing the last couple of episodes that they were trying to do a film. I could be wrong. Maybe they did one of Goosebumps. I can't remember. But that didn't come to fruition. But I'm hearing it like lately now that they want to try to do something with Are You Afraid of the Dark? Whether or not that's true, I don't know. I really don't. You'd have to ask DJ that.
Well, that was my next question for you. Did anybody actually reach out to you about this revamp that it just aired in October? They did 3 episodes that came out. The movie was rumored to come out next October, but I have a feeling this miniseries is kind of filling the void of that, and they're not going to go ahead with a feature film.
Oh, I see. Well, there you go. But I mean, DJ knows what he's doing, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I don't know if he's a part of this new revamp. I know he came back for the 2 seasons, but somebody told me that he didn't even know about the movie or the revamp episode coming out.
Yeah?
Yes, it doesn't have a new director. Yeah. They're already credited on that and everything.
Oh, seriously? Well, There you go. See, well, I really have to get out more often, clearly, right? There's a whole world going on there that I don't know anything about.
Yeah, we basically decided to dedicate the last 2 years of our life to this podcast. So, we're going on there.
So clearly you know what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm. Were there any problems working with some of these kids because we noticed with some of these kids, they were either really experienced kid actors who had been in other shows before, or other times they had no acting experience at all. And it was basically like somebody's babysitter got cast on the show and they said, oh, just come on, we need to fill this role real quick.
Well, I don't know about that, but that sounds as good a theory as any. Oh man, that's funny actually. That's very funny.
Yeah, so now working with kids, you have to have more of a patience level and things of that nature.
Well, see, in my opinion, I mean, Are You Afraid of the Dark was at the time, I think very much like a Twilight Zone for kids. Really, I mean, some of the stories at that time. Now, I haven't revisited, I mean, some of the ones perhaps that I had a part hand in. Some of those stories were scary. They were.
Yeah, especially the second episode, which is The Tale of Laughing in the Dark with Zebra the Clown, infamously. You're not in that episode, but it basically made every kid shit their pants. I was one of them because I was about 7 or 8 years old when that came out.
Right.
And gave me chlorophobia for a while.
Yeah. I remember even being with him being in makeup, and I thought it was scary. That's just talking to him when he's in makeup.
Were
yeah, no, I hear you.
Oh, Ashley has a question for you.
Yes.
No, I'm gonna be. Apparently now I'm just gonna be filtering these because of my connection. What was it like working with Aaron Tager?
Aaron, I'd known Aaron, before. We'd never worked together, but I'd gone to see him in various plays in and around Montreal. Him and his wife. Oh my gosh, was it Ann Page? Is it Ann Page's? Gosh, I forget his wife's name, but she was also an actress of some repute. And they were very, very good. So I knew of him on a social level, and I knew of him, being on stage and me going to see him, because we had sort of some of the same friends in the theater community. But I'd never worked with him, as I say. And it was fabulous. I mean, getting those the two characters together was wonderful. That was just a great idea by DJ, and it was great. That was
that was Cutter's Treasure episode.
Cutter's Treasure, right? Cutter's Treasure.
Yeah, that was the only actually the first 2-part episode that was in the series.
Yeah, that's right. That's absolutely right. That's right. It was a 2-parter. You're right.
Now
you're right.
I thought that they were, because we reviewed this a few months ago, but I thought that should have been the Are You Afraid of the Dark movie at the time that came out, like 93.
Mm-hmm.
Because Are You Afraid of the Dark was in its prime, about 93, 94. That I think that could have been a really good blockbuster for kids at that point in time.
Yeah, but they would have had to compete with Cutthroat Island.
Oh yeah, Cutthroat Island came around at the same time, so there's a lot of pirate stuff happening. Oh, War World. I forgot about that movie.
Well, I'll tell you, that was, you're right. I mean, that could have been a film. I mean, it was a 2-parter, as you say, and that was quite the story as well. It could easily have been or at the very least, an MOW. You're right.
Now, one thing I'm really curious about, were there any assholes on set or anybody that caused a lot of issues?
I have to tell you the truth, not in my experience at all. It was always when I was on or involved, and again, there's all kinds of episodes, and I was only involved in, I don't know what it was, 8 or whatever the heck it was, I can't remember now. But when I was on set, involved in it, I should say, it was just a fabulous experience. From the time you sat down in the makeup chair until you're wrapped, it was just a great experience, and that's a real tip of the hat towards DJ McHale, and certainly in the episodes that Ron directed me. DJ directed me in one as well. That's just the kind of set that they wanted to have, and I think that I'm hesitant to say joy, but certainly the wonderful feeling that actors, at least when I was involved, had for these people, these creators of Are You Afraid of the Dark and the series itself. I mean, to me, that's evident on screen. I mean, it was a really, really good experience. I say that honestly. It really, really was.
Nice. Yeah, we especially noticed for a kids show, high production qualities for that period of time.
Well, yeah, and at that time, you're absolutely right. I mean, the Tale of the Super Specs, for example, which was the first one I did, that whole scene with the kids at the end. Now, of course, it's all computer generated, and it's just done that way. But back in the day, we were on this big set that was on gigantic springs, the whole set for that the séance, if you will, at the end of the episode, and they had these big techs, pushing down almost like a teeter-totter in a way on these springs to make that room move. I mean, that wasn't done by anything computer generated. That was physically happening. That was really, really something. I was very impressed by that.
Oh, 1990s when that episode came out.
And actually, to segue from that, at the end of that episode, as you probably know, we were trapped in that that glass crystal ball, if you will. We were trapped in that. That's myself and the two kids. So basically, every episode that came after that I was in was really before that episode in time, if that makes sense.
Well, we also had a theory, if that happened, it was every episode just in this different dimension. But yeah, you're right, that must have been before. That episode, by the way, was 1990 in Canada. I didn't realize it was that early. So
yeah, I think it was 92 or something. Yeah. Was it 92? But yeah, that was that first episode that I was in anyway. Well, all subsequent episodes would have had to have happened on a time basis, time continuum before that episode.
Well, here's another funny thing, Richard. We interviewed somebody who made this Are You Afraid of the Dark episode guide. And apparently there's a big thing in the community where the whole timeline for the air dates is like different sources. None of them are correct. They actually asked DJ which one was correct, and his didn't actually match up with some of the things. And then we look at Wikipedia. People are changing Wikipedia like every month on us. So it's just a mess. But we have a pretty good idea of like the general things, just the air dates especially, or the hard ones for people to get because no records of them. Basically, people were looking at old TV guides and things like that.
Oh, that makes sense. I understand. Now, but that was a fabulous episode, and that sort of paved the way for Sardo to come back. Only because people liked the character. I was very, very fortunate. I really I got to work with Frank Gorshin. I mean, that was for me. I had no idea that Frank Gorshin was going to be involved in the episode. I had no idea who they'd cast for that role until I got to the read-through.
Oh, yeah,
and there was Frank Gorshin. I couldn't believe it. And he was just the nicest guy. Mm-hmm. He really, really was.
Yeah, I believe it was the Carved Stone episode. That was the one he was in. That was like back in time and stuff. Yeah, that was it.
I'm sorry?
It was the Carved Stone episode with like
that's right. The Carved Stone. That's exactly it. That's right, with Frank Gorshin.
Yeah, I noticed in later seasons, like they were pulling in some really experienced actors, especially known to the American audiences.
Yeah. Well, he was just amazing, and he, as you may or may not know, he was a remarkable impressionist. He was really, really good. That's how he started, was being an impressionist, and he was just unbelievable. And I remember him just sort of riffing in between takes, or if we blew something or whatever, and he would go into various characters, including Rodney Dangerfield a couple of times, and he allowed me to sort of kind of riff with him. So that was great. I mean, that was a highlight of my life. In fact, what's his name? Dick Clark. Dick Clark was running a blooper show at the time. I don't know if you remember that. And they got a hold of us because it was a blooper between Frank Gorshin and myself. For whatever reason, the series got canceled or whatever, the bloopers, and they didn't use it. But they called and sent us releases to use the blooper.
Oh, wow. I gotta find that somewhere.
Very funny. He was a funny man, Frank Gorshin. And could also clearly be scary as well.
I know you said you got recognized on the street, especially when you got later in the seasons, but in the earlier days, were you actually watching the show? I know it was a kid's show, but were you like paying attention to the story? That you said you maybe thought it was going to be like a one-off on the first episode, but by season 2, were you watching it? No,
I thought it was going to be a one-off, Adam, from my character. I must admit I had not seen it because when I came on for Tales of Super Specs, I think they had started not much earlier than that. Maybe a season, I think. I could be wrong. I'm sure you know the timeline better than me. But they weren't on for all that long when I came into audition anyway for my particular role. As I said, there was a gap between the audition and the actual filming, of course. But I don't think they had been on that long. But I'm sure you know better than me on that one. So no, that's my long way of saying no. I had not watched the series at that point when I auditioned. I had subsequent to me getting the roles, certainly, but before that, no, I hadn't watched it, Adam. No.
I'm gonna pass this over to Ashley real quick. She's got a few questions.
Sure.
Oh gosh.
You're good.
Hi, Mr. Dumont.
Everybody okay over there?
Yeah, I'm just clumsy.
I got it.
Okay.
And please call me Richard, please.
Okay, I will. Okay, so you were probably my favorite character on that show.
Oh, aren't you nice? Thank you so much for saying that. Thank you.
You were very unique, and I enjoyed that. But as far as everything you've done, where does your role on this show fall in your favorite roles?
Well, certainly Sardo is way up there for without a doubt. Again, because it was just I was really blessed to get that role. It was just it really was a godsend because I had so much fun doing it, and clearly it meant a lot to people who were in fact fans like yourself, who were fans of the show. So glad that I got to play that character. So yes, that character is certainly up at the very top of my list of characters that I've played in my life. With Second City, as you can imagine, I played a myriad of characters.
Oh yeah.
For improv shows, but that is Sardo is certainly at the top of my list. I'll tell you something. They had very quickly. I'm a free associate here. There was a Halloween. What do you call this? They got some of us from Are You Afraid of the Dark together. Aaron Tager, myself, his wife, a couple of the campfire kids, and they got us together in Toronto. This is 3 years ago now, I think, 3 Halloweens ago, on Halloween night. And it was they were sold out in 20 minutes, is what I'm told, for this particular night at this big theater in Toronto. And there was a line of people outside the door when I pulled up in the cab that I could not believe, waiting to get in. And then the lineup of people waiting to get our autographs after the show, if you will. It was unbelievable. It was remarkable, something that I've never experienced. Clearly, other people have in their lives and in their careers. I had not, and that for me was like, wow, this meant a lot to people, and I'm so blessed to be a part of it.
Absolutely. Do you have a favorite episode of the ones that you did come in on?
Of Are You Afraid of the Dark, a favorite episode? Yes,
sir.
I do, and I honestly, for me, I have to say it was in fact Tale of the Super Specs, because it was my first, and I just had such joy doing it. I love the Tale of the Carved Stone because again I got to work with Mr. Frank Gorshin, which was just a highlight of my life. And Cutter's Treasure, I got to work with Aaron. Those were I think of the bunch. I think those are my favorites because of for those reasons.
Awesome. Well, I think that's about what I have. Most of what I was looking at, we've already kind of gone over in conversation. Is there any chance of us seeing you again in any of these reboots?
Any chance of seeing me again in any of which? I'm sorry, I missed that. I beg your pardon.
The reboots that they're doing.
Oh, well, I don't, that's going to be for, I can tell you that I have not, at this stage anyway, been approached. I know that DJ and I have kind of spoken over the airwaves, if you will, or cyberspace waves, but nothing has been settled or confirmed, or I have not been approached formally, if if that could be an answer for you.
Fair
But
enough.
I've only been hearing tales of perhaps a film very, very recently. So that's it. But I have not been approached on any kind of formal basis. No, but I'd be happy to do it, certainly, because I love character, and I certainly enjoy working with the gang, especially with DJ and Ron, certainly.
Now, Richard, hopefully you can clear this up for us, because this is a topic we've been talking about since the beginning of this podcast. We always research the actors who appeared in the show and the episodes to see their other credits. And this isn't just like 5 people or 10. This is more like 50. I know you did some voice acting on Assassin's Creed franchise. We've noticed that...
Yes, not only voice acting, but I've actually voice directed 4 of them.
Nice. Well, yeah, here's a question. There's like 50 actors for the show have been acting in that series at some point? Is there any kind of like universe between Are You Afraid of the Dark and Assassin's Creed that we don't know about, or is it just coincidence?
No, not that certainly not that I'm aware of anyway. I've been lucky enough to, as they say, directed 4 of them. I also directed 3 Splinter Cells, 3 Prince of Persias for them. But this is stuff you can all certainly find out. So I've been voice directing them, and I've also been involved in them on a voice basis. But because the community in Montreal is fairly English community is fairly small with regard to voice work. Sometimes people do tend to get used, again, and it's only because they're frankly, if I can pat myself on the back, well, not me, but Montreal, they are very good. I've been lucky enough to direct in Los Angeles, in New York. I just came back from Copenhagen on one of these games. I'm about to go to London tomorrow to voice direct a game there.
Oh, wow.
I can tell you, working in these cities, I'm blessed to be able to do that. I will put Montreal actors, English actors, up against anyone in any city on that basis, any studio. That's how good Montreal is. Montreal's the leaders, I'm sure you know, in the video game industry, and I would certainly put Montreal's talent up there with anyone in any city.
Nice. Yeah, the other one we noticed is that Kids Show Arthur animated series, like late 90s. That was another one we noticed, like a lot of actors have been on. I think that was produced up there.
Okay, well, that one I wasn't aware of, but it doesn't surprise me at all. It doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, the other one the other thing we noticed is some of the actors have appeared nude, and we're looking up on Mr. Skin occasionally.
What? What?
Yes, some of the female actresses who are on the show have appeared on Mr. Skin. We just look
Well, that I certainly don't know anything about.
It happens.
Yeah, no, I have no idea about that.
This one's from one of our Patreon subscribers, RJ. His question for you was, what is your favorite horror movie?
What is my favorite which? I beg your pardon?
Horror movie.
My favorite horror movie?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, you want to know? I'm talking old school now. The one that I can remember. Okay, well, there's a little bit of a story with this, and that is that I went to Catholic in Toronto. I went to Catholic private primary school, and I went to a private Catholic high school taught by the Christian Brothers, priests, and nuns, and some lay people as well. When I went to see The Exorcist, the original Exorcist with Linda Blair. That brought back all those stories that the priests and that would take you through in catechism class, and the whole exorcism rites, of which there is an actual ceremony, if you use that term loosely, for exorcising someone, as I'm sure you know. It scared the bejesus out of me. I tell you,
that's one of those classic ones that kind of
nights after seeing that.
Yes, that's one of those classic horror movies that it seems like everybody has nightmares about at some point in their life.
Oh yeah, that really scared the crap out of me. And I had read the book. I'd read the novel, and I went and saw the film, and it scared the hell out of me. I got to say that. That's got to be my top one. I'm sure that's my top.
This is another one from our Patreon subscriber. Is there anyone else from the TV show that you keep in touch with other than DJ?
Well, it's DJ. DJ and our acquaintances. We don't double date or anything. But Ron Oliver, I've been lucky enough to work on a couple of films with Ron. After a post, Are You Afraid of the Dark? He is one of my favorite people in the world. I say that freely. I get nothing for saying that. His agent does. I get nothing for it. But Ron is truly. I find him to be one of the smartest men I know. One of the smartest, strike that. One of the smartest people I know in the world. He is one of the funniest, and I cannot say enough about his talent. I think Ron Oliver is incredible. In fact, he has something that was either on television a couple of weeks ago or about to be for, I think, Hallmark. I think it was called Christmas at the Plaza. I believe it takes place at the Plaza Hotel in New York. And forgive me, guys, if I'm getting my story if it's not correct, but I think I'm right. That got incredible reviews. I have not seen it, but
yeah, it's called Christmas at the Plaza.
Just recently, I believe.
Yep, 2019.
Yeah, it just came out a few days ago. Christmas at the Plaza. Yeah.
Okay, so there you.
And Richard, I need to send you this meme that I posted to my Facebook earlier today about these Hallmark movies. This girl is a loco, but you'll laugh when you see this meme.
Forgive me, I missed that. I beg your pardon?
Oh, I have a meme I'm going to send you about Hallmark movies. It doesn't look like the girl in this Christmas at the Plaza, but you'll laugh when you see it.
Oh, really? Oh, great. Okay, fabulous. Thank you very much. Thank you. I appreciate that. Ron Oliver, DJ McHale. Anyway, they're the best. That's all. Those two gentlemen, I keep in touch with on a fairly regular basis. Especially Ron. We sort of Facebook each other. As you know, I lost my brother recently, and Ron called me from California, and it was just so gracious and so considerate of him to do that. I just can't say enough about the man. So there you go. Without getting emotional about it, there you go.
I call season 6 and 7 after it went off air and came back the revival. This is like 1999. You're in an episode called The Tale of the Oblivion, which we haven't reviewed yet. We just hit season 6. And I actually hit puberty by the time it went off air, so I didn't watch it all.
That episode have anything to do with it? That's what I want to know, Adam. Did it have anything to do with it?
My question is, was there any change in production when it came back on air? Was there any difference, or was it kind of like the same vibe?
No, it was actually the same vibe, to tell you the truth. There was a feeling of, what you and I, we spoke about just a little while ago, the fact that they were off for a little while and then came back. There was sort of there was an energy about that as, hey, man, I guess, we must be doing something right. People want to see us some more. So there was that sort of that feeling on set, to tell you the truth. And that was a wonderful feeling. And it was great because most of the tech people were the same people that were on the show before. And that was fabulous. That was great to see because, these are people that I don't bump into on a regular basis. And it's so wonderful to see them, back doing what they do so well. That was great. So that was the general feeling.
Nice. Hey, I just looked it up. Apparently Montreal is a 10-hour drive from where we're at. So I think we're going to make a trip up there in the next few months. Right, Ben?
Is that right?
Great. You're 10 hours now. You're in Maryland, is that right?
Yeah, Maryland. I've never been to Canada before. I've been like Maine. That was about as close as I came. But
get out of town. Are you serious?
Yeah,
you've got to. Well, Maine, my gosh. A third of that state used to be Canadian. They had a choice at one point when they drew the. If you look at the state of Maine, you'll see what I mean. Yeah, apparently it's way before our time, of course, but they offered them a choice. You want to be Canadian or American? And that was basically when they were doing the boundary there.
Yeah, the funny thing is, my mom was big into that.
Close. You're just below it.
Yeah, my mom was big into that Angry Gables back in the 80s, so I've been meaning to go to Prince Edward Island at some point and stay at that bed and breakfast thing.
Well, there you go. But you have to come up. 10 hours. I mean, so you stop once along the way and stay overnight someplace and come on up. You've got to do it. I'd suggest you come up. In the summer, there's so much going on here. Of course, the comedy festival, the jazz festival, which is, by the way, the biggest jazz festival in the world, even bigger than New Orleans.
Actually, I've heard that.
And see some of that in the summer. If you like snow, obviously, you would come up in the winter if you like to ski and all that. It does get cold. Today's cold, for example. It's the coldest I've been anyway thus far. But yeah, you must come up. Come on.
Yeah, I'm actually a musician by a living,
Canada's
so
waiting for you.
Big things about that. My last question is: are you still getting recognized on the street for this role?
No, I don't get. Well, I've shaved my head for one thing, but no, I don't get recognized in the street. I will get recognized now by the kids' parents, who I guess were kids at that time. But going back for just a moment, if I may, to the Are You Afraid of the Dark reunion, if you will, but I'm hesitant to call it that, in Toronto 3 years ago, I was shocked as to how many, not only certainly the parents who were kids at that time, but how many kids were there too? When I say kids, I mean teenagers. I mean young teenagers. Like anywhere from 13 to say, 17, let's say. Quite a few. So I don't know where they're watching Are You Afraid of the Dark, or where it's playing right now, or they're just getting it online. I've got no idea. But besides the parents, which I expected, I was shocked to see how many kids were there of that age. I really, really was. It was amazing.
Yeah, I've been wondering with this revamp, are these kids who are watching this revival that just aired, are they going back and watching these episodes from 1992, 1993? We also had this cultural thing where some of these kids aren't used to commercials anymore. So there's a few episodes of Are You Afraid of the Dark where like a kid screams, it fades to black, and it goes back to him screaming. It's a very like
Right.
90s style edit that I don't know if they would get, but
Yeah. So what happened there? What's going on? Yeah. I hear you. I hear you.
Nothing, Ben?
Does he have anything for our listeners?
Oh, Richard, what do you want to plug for us? Or what do you want to plug on the podcast?
Nothing. I've got nothing to plug outside of the fact that, as I say, I'm voice directing games. I'm involved in games. I'm heavily involved in voice directing and in animation. But I have nothing to plug. I mean, anything that I can do to help the Are You Afraid of the Dark cause and keep a fan base, I'm there to do it because it's it's a very, very special show in my life and in my career, and I'm very proud to be a part of it.
Hey, are you on Instagram?
And again, I get nothing for saying that either. I truly mean it.
Are you on Instagram? Because I found r_Dumont 1962 with 15 followers. Is this you?
Richard Dumont with 15 followers?
Yeah, it might be a fake account on here. It says we have one post.
Yeah, it's right here.
What's your Instagram handle?
Well, you know what I've had to do is I think I was doing it Afraid of the Dark. I think I had to use my middle initial, Richard M. Dumont, because there were two other Richard Dumonts. And when I first came to this province, when I first came to Quebec, we were getting our IMBD, we were getting our internet movie database credits mixed. So that's the only reason I use the middle initial M, which is my middle name, Malcolm. So I don't know if that's that person or not. I don't know. I'd have to go to it. But if you look me up in Internet Movie Database under Richard M. Dumont, I'm sure you'll find me in my credits. I believe anyway.
Yeah, your IMDb is that. We're just trying to find the Instagram if you're active on there.
Okay, no, I'm not. I'm actually, that's one of the things I'm not involved with, Instagram. I had a conversation just this morning with an actor's mother about that, actually. But I'm not on Instagram. Why do you think I should be on Instagram?
Absolutely, there's a really big Are You Afraid of the Dark community on there right now, and that's kind of our main promotion.
Okay. All right. I'll you know what? I will definitely take a look at. I know I'm on Facebook, but I haven't gone for. And that's not a plug for them. But I haven't tried Instagram. Maybe now that you've recommended that as well, maybe I'll look into that actually.
Yeah, DJ is active on there. I know that.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, we follow him as well.
If it's good enough for DJ, it's good enough for me.
Yeah, he's been plugging like his books that he wrote on. I know he's made several public appearances as well. But it's funny.
Oh yeah, what's it? Sorry, go ahead, sir.
We started this podcast about 2.5 years ago, and it was right before they even announced like the movie or the revamp series. And even when we started, we noticed like there was just this big 90s nostalgia thing happening with Nickelodeon on Instagram. I mean, we got collectors on there. We had people who specialize in 90s horror things like Are You Afraid of the Dark and Goosebumps. It's just a lot more bigger than Facebook is now when in that kind of community sense.
Well, it's they were good shows. I think that they still hold up. I believe that they do. And as I fear of repeating myself at times, some of those episodes were scary. They were. I'm hesitant to use the term disturbing, but you have to remember that we were talking about the fan base at that time. They were young kids. It really was a Twilight Zone for kids. Only add that horror to it, that horror element, and some of them were scary.
Ben just said the Talkative episode of Twilight Zone still scares him 60 years later after that aired. Yeah, it's possible. The funny thing is, I don't want to call this funny, but at watching these as an adult now, I see themes that are kind of frowned upon. Like there's a few episodes where it's really obvious that human trafficking is happening.
Oh, gee.
Yeah, child abduction. It's like that. I mean, that's the scary part for me.
Yeah, it doesn't quite cut it today, does it? I don't even know if it cut it then, to tell you the truth.
No. All right, Richard, I want to thank you for coming on today.
It was my pleasure, and I thank you very much for having me on. It was a pleasure being had.
Yeah, again, we'll hit you up. We'll come up to Montreal.
Oh, please. I'm serious. If you do that, please let me know.
Absolutely. We'll buy you a beer.
Yeah, absolutely. A Canadian beer. Absolutely.
Yeah, because ours are terrible.
Yeah, Ben says ours are terrible here in America. But I think the Budweiser and Coors Light are kind of on that fashion.
We can bring them home.
Well, have a great day, and thank you so much for having me on. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Have a good day. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, you too. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye now.